Welcome to Sense and Sustainability, your podcast channel for sustainable procurement. We hope you like what you hear. Please go to www.iso2400.org for more information, learning resources, tools, and much more.
It's my pleasure today to welcome Dannie Yung from Hong Kong. Dannie, welcome.
Welcome. Good day.
So, Dannie, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you became involved in sustainability.
Yes, I am pretty typical. I was born, raised, and educated in Hong Kong. And I must say that Hong Kong has been enjoying a very successful economic period in the 70s, 80s, 90s. So it's where the period I grew up in Hong Kong. So I got a chance to get the best education and also get a chance to look at the world from a very small island of Hong Kong. And then I'm doing very well at school, at university. And so I can go to anywhere in the world to continue my university education. However, I want to be with my family, and my mother only has me as the only daughter. So I don't want her to be brokenhearted seeing me going away and maybe marrying a what we call a 鬼佬, that's a foreign devil, referring to all those people who are not from the East and not in Hong Kong. So I decided to stay in Hong Kong and get into engineering. And at that time, engineering was a very different thing for girls and women in the East world. And I went to a school which was actually a convent school, started off by London missionary from London, from UK. So they never heard of engineering. So what's the hell of you going to do engineering? But I want to break through and try something that's different. I think that's the spirit of Hong Kong also. And also the spirit of me being rebellious against a very traditional family where everything is centered on the male, not the female. So it's part of the member being a female and not so much of, doing her own things. Anyway, against everybody's odds, I got into engineering. And at that time, there were only two women in the engineering program. And there's a lot of discrimination already, very gentle. And they would not allow me to get near to the workshopping with the machines. They will, they will, did all the work for me. And I remember when I broke a shipping tool by starting the button in the wrong direction. And it's not me breaking into tears. It's my professor from England. And he was so afraid that I will burst into tears. So I got everybody's attention for the mistake I have made. But anyway, so it's quite a different world when I was in engineering. You can feel some sort of different treatment by people. It's very subtle, but you want to do it and make your own mistake and learn from it rather than being protected. Uh, but I think I like engineering a lot. So after my graduation, and I stayed in the engineering world and continue to work as an engineer. However, again, I break into something people would not think of. I was the first engineer going into a bank and bringing engineering to the bank because my engineering disciplines in industrial engineering, looking at things from a systems perspective, not thoughts and leaving them in fragmentation. So I went into the very famous Hong Kong Bank, okay, and which is doing very well. But also at a time they want to bring the technology into the banking world. and not just looking at process, but how technology and process and people can integrate it together and give some basis of knowing where improvements can be made. So I'm very lucky that I got a chance to introduce the engineering there and did some good work. Then I moved into because they want me to actually go into an international assignment, what it means Middle East. And again, that is a no-no at that time in the Hong Kong society or in my traditional society. And by that time, I also got married. So it's my husband this time is saying that you should not be going there. And he has a career too. And so we have to make a compromise. And I think I am a team member. Okay, so I guess I can, fit in well, whatever situation I can flourish. So I look for a job and I got a job in the utility company there, and which is almost the utility company there, and started to do my engine work there. And after that, I became an consultant. And after that, I will, because of the change of government, the return of Hong Kong back to China in 1997, everybody wanted to, see the world a bit and find another place. And this was a chance for me to see the world also. So I able to persuade my family, and we went to Canada after searching where to go. And when I was in Canada, I was given a job after some investigation, like whether you have a North American experience or Canadian experience. I said I had a worldwide experience. And so without checking whether I got a driving license, I was awarded a job of travel engineer. Okay. And by that, I have to take a car and go to the different power station utilities in the big Ontario province of Canada. And Canada is very big. And okay. And then they have five coal power stations there, a number of hydro stations, a number of nuclear stations. And my job is to take whatever the headquarters resource integration initiative to persuade the people in the different power utilities to adopt it. And so, as a new Canadian and as a new person there, a newcomer to the company, I have a lot of pitching work to do. And okay, I guess it, on top of my skills as an engineer and the process view and system view is my thinking of, integrating people together, working together as a team, rather than, I tell them what to do or they have to follow. I guess I listen more to them, and there I understand a bit more about environmental because Hong Kong is a city and in Ontario is a big province and it is a country. The perspective of environment, the perspective of my engineering work, and later on they have a lot of what they call reorganization. And because of my training, everybody sort of have to stay there for a while, be quiet. I got the chance to lead teams, or rather facilitate teams and move upwards. So I must thank my process skills and also perhaps my family upbringing is to think of others first or think of the family first rather than just myself. And that's it's my first exposure actually to environment because that utility company, which at the time was the third largest in the world, and they have a very visionary chairman. They took up this subject of sustainability and climate into the UN, United Nations. So I got the first exposure. Then again, because of my family, so I came back to Hong Kong and become a consultant, independent consultant of my own, which I'm very glad because I'm not working for a big organization. To do the initiatives, I can, try my initiative and see if people like it. I don't know if I'm talking too much, Sean. I should cut this short.
No, that's absolutely fine, Danny. I'm very interested in your thoughts on going into engineering as a woman at the time, because I studied engineering from 1977 to 81. There were over 100 students in my year, and there were no women at all. It was all men. Before that, I served an apprenticeship on an oil refinery, and there were 16 of us, new apprentices on this refinery at age 16. We all started. And the apprentice training centre didn't even have any women's toilets. There was just no expectation that women would get involved in engineering at all. And it's changed a bit since then. So that's a great story. Thank you. And I know you've got some thoughts as well in terms of the relationship between engineering, procurement, supply chain, and how we can or cannot work together to deliver more sustainable solutions and products. Would you like to expand on that a little?
Yes, the engineers are very sort of weird type of people, weird animals. They think differently in a way. They look at things as things, okay, and they look at things individually as things. They don't connect them up. And particularly in Hong Kong, the engineering education is very much task focused and yes, result oriented. Yeah, rather than having emotions. So having emotion is being weak. And again, that they know it all. And if they don't try it out, okay, and feel comfortable about it themselves, they will not follow you. And again, particularly procurement is not a profession. A lot of high educated graduates gone into. So the engineers usually feel I have the solution, you follow me, rather than working out as a team. And something that really upset me, the engineers, again, the outlook is more from themselves rather than from the outside world, not even the customers, because they decide it should be for the customers, and they don't. So the customer have to learn from them rather than they try to learn from what the customer's needs are and then decide something that fit. So because at the time there's no female engineers, I thought, okay, I have to be an engineer so that I can decide things and tell you, okay, tell the engineers, to think about the customer, and that's why initially, they test it and test you out whether you talk about engineering or you actually do the engineering. I think having the solid knowledge and able to demonstrate you understand, but you don't have to actually just follow your own opinions, ideas. You can listen and improve. So when I also get myself dirty, I mean, in the sense of roll up my sleeve and get into the boilers and get into the trenches and work together with the engineers. I never think of myself as a female, but as an engineer, and also understanding why and thinking that from the other side, the recipient side, and also looking at the process. So I guess that sort of crack the gaps or close the gaps and crack some opportunities open. Now I think I'm able to pull a lot of the legs of the engineers and have them listen. And I have also taught at the university, hoping to help the engineers to look at things from a more holistic way and thinking about not just the things, but the application of it and the why of it and how it's being manufactured. And yes, and that way, bridging the gap in a way of the procurement and the engineers. Yeah, I actually started in North America where we have the procurement engineer and we have the procurement officer, and they don't talk to each other. and the procurement engineer design a cable, for example, with a specification which nobody can produce, or they have 99 specifications, but actually from the manufacturer's point of view, it's only 3 types of cables. It's just because the engineers specify, so they make the variation and changes to satisfy. I guess it's the communication and maybe the mentality of elite or mentality of scarcity, including the ideas. So when you share ideas, the ideas get lost rather than, you improve on the ideas. So yes, I guess somehow um, my personality or my character helps me to bridge the gaps. And something very interesting, actually, when I was working in Toronto, which is very cold, and to bridge the gaps, I always arrange meetings outside the office, but warm lunch. And Toronto's being very cold, yes, actually, over a warm lunch, people will loosen up and individual topics first before getting the things back to the boardroom or in a big meetings help a bit. And I guess I have the energy and the environment also uh, breaks up the walls and the barriers. So engineering has always been in my bones, I guess. And how I get into sustainability, I have always liked the society, nature. If I had not been an engineer, I would be a artist doing painting or stage design. And I'm very interested in stories, human people stories. And I only get into sustainability back in 2013 when I was doing my consultancy here in Hong Kong, even though I have projects all around the world, is when somebody, our friend Jean-Louis, came over to Hong Kong and delivered a sustainability workshop to CIPS members, the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply. Hong Kong, while being very successful and commercial, most of the people in charge of commercial and procurement are actually engineering background because Hong Kong has a lot of infrastructure development, the city building, etc. So again, Hong Kong very good in adopting other countries' practices. So we don't have it, we don't originate, but we can copy first and then change it. So and because the world is going into that direction, so we have John Louis from SIPS to run a sustainability workshop here in Hong Kong for some of the bigger companies. It's 2013, and was lucky to make that arrangement and listen to him. And I thought there's something the future, and the future has to begin now. So I get interested in it. Not much has actually happened after 2013 because it's just the beginning. People talk about it, but because I'm a process person, so I try to learn a bit more. And then later, 2017, you came along. You came to Hong Kong, and because of my relationship or my work with this power company, and they are willing to give a chance to us, and they want the best to come to Hong Kong and help them. So they would not trust me helping them, so they want the best of the best. And that's you and Jean-Louis coming to help the company. Yes. And then I got involved a bit more, and that's how I get involved. Still a lot to learn, and but I guess sustainability quite a lot to do with process And my engineering background, trying to look at process, and my skills in Six Sigma, trying to solve problem helps a bit. So I'm still learning, but it's so interesting and so much to learn. Yeah.
It was an interesting experience working with yourself and Jean-Louis and China Light and Power, because you're right, it was a very engineering focused organisation. The kind of whole way of thinking was all about the engineering, and it felt a little bit like, the Central Electricity Generating Board in the UK like 20 years ago, and the culture. But they did listen, and they did take a lot of our advice on board. Danny, you talked about sort of, I suppose, a fairly traditional view of engineers and their attitude and the way that they operate. And you also said that you've lectured at the university. Do you see things changing? Are younger engineers different to maybe the engineers that you and I knew back in the 80s?
Yes, there's definitely still hope, and hope for the better. And younger engineers more aware of not just their own self, but the contribution engineers in society. And they are also more female engineers. And also, I must say, business in Hong Kong are very agile and adaptable. And they see the world trends, and they will learn from the world trends and try to implement it in Hong Kong. So the younger engineers, because again, it's less from one engineer pass to the engineer. So they are opening up, and they are willing to work more in a team and across disciplines. So it's less just them, because a lot of the older engineers actually got burned out, and it's too late when they get to understand it. The education change, the expectations of society change, and the world changes. So I see hope among the younger engineers. However, I guess some deep, profound own engineering knowledge is still important. So on top of it, they will understand and put in the way, the world view, and use their core skills to integrate into the world and really be responsible for their own work, their own being, and the society. So that's very important.
Quite a hopeful message then. And also, obviously, our listeners are from all over the world, and I think they'll be really interested to understand what is going on in Hong Kong with regard to sustainability. How are you seeing sustainability, and particularly sustainable procurement, happening in Hong Kong?
Hong Kong is very practical, pragmatic, and the bottom line is still something people are looking at, the cost. And however, we are slowly waking up. And again, before, Hong Kong is a society of what we call laissez-faire. So the business drive is not the government. Now it's a bit of changes. And because China also is changing, and China actually has done them in a way something better than Hong Kong in the world of sustainability. So we have the Business Environment Council here in Hong Kong, and they are opening up to look at environment, because environment is not cost actually anymore. It's you don't look at the environment, then you are bringing in cost to the business. And apart from this risk, this reputation risk, the people's choice. So I am hopeful. It's not enough. It's just beginning. Still, Hong Kong people, like I say, very pragmatic. So right now, if they still, it is, environment and sustainability means additional cost. That's something they will not buy into. But if they can see how this lead to benefits. And now we have a longer term of horizon. Before, Hong Kong is like a borrow time, borrow place. Now we don't have this concern anymore, hopefully. And so, we can think of a bit longer term vision. So we're willingly, the more willing to try new things. Yes, but there's still a lot to learn because convenience, number one thing here in Hong Kong. The environmental and sustainability means inconvenience to doing business. Then that's something we have to really think hard to overcome. And I think world leaders and government, if we can think a bit harder how we can, change the mindset first and come up with ways which is not running against the success or drivers of success for Hong Kong economy, we have a better chance. And I think we should be very good too. And and Hong Kong also should not just be looking at Hong Kong, should be looking at the border, across the border China, the Great Bay Area, that's what we call. And they are learning. And they have the technology, and Hong Kong have this more commercial outlook, and they have the space. So there's a lot of synergy there that we can, do. And also Southeast Asian countries, we can go there and learn as well. Not easy. We're starting, but hopefully with the younger engineers, the mindset, the horizons bigger and longer term. So I wish I can. And ISO 2400 and Action Sustainability can also help, contribute and accelerate some more stuff.
Yeah, thank you. You talk about young people and young engineers. Are young people staying in Hong Kong, or do they aspire to go and work in other parts of the world?
Some engineers, quite a lot of them actually have migrated to UK under some sort of arrangement where they have the Hong Kong passport. And in fact, we have a chapter, the Hong Kong Institutional Engineers UK chapter. So a number of people have migrated there, and we have an engineering chapter over there. Some engineers like to stay in Hong Kong. I would say it's a split. And I think the younger engineers, in a way, are more familiar with the West system because education has been a Western. And China is a big strange to us. A lot of us not familiar with the systems. So we still have to build some trust and understand more. However, there are also engineers who really want to go and contribute to China as well. Yeah, we have to. The government is trying to do, of course, to get people stay in Hong Kong and to China as well. But Hong Kong being small, a lot of us really want to see the world. But then the world covers everybody. It should be. And I think it's good to myself. It's not just the political situation. It's just because I want to see the world. And the younger people more so, they want to see the world. So, and understand, and they can make the choice. But I think actually Hong Kong, younger people is quite lucky in a way. Money side, the economic side can actually support their choice of where to live and contribute. Yeah, and the language is still okay, the English language. Yeah. So I have to be thankful, grateful for what my life has given me, and even though from a very traditional family, I'm able to break away, and the youngsters already have good soil, so they can find their best way too. I think I'm an optimistic person.
That's what a wonderful note to finish on. Danny, is there anything else that you'd like to cover? I know you had some thoughts that you wanted to get across. Have you said all you want to say, or do we close it off now?
Yes, there's something I think whether you are procurement people or engineers, you have to have your critical and independent thinking. And again, move away from being a technician following rules, but started from basic fundamental design thinking that I think is very important. And not to be bound by, what's being done has to be done that way. You have to understand why and go down and forward. And I think we also have to be careful if we are engineers turned procurement about our behaviors. One assignment that makes me aware of that. Actually, I'm new to procurement, still a lot to to learn in procurement. But the engineers, with their curiosity, they want to do a lot of things to explore new things. That particular procurement exercise is about trying to seek for new ways of doing transformation. That's buying a transformer, procuring transformers. And I think transformer have been a traditional equipment for a long time. But they want to research into a higher power, high efficiency. And in the early engagement with the suppliers, they have expressed this wish. And this actually create unintended consequences in the supply market. The suppliers thinking, they already spent thinking that might be the way the company wants. So they spend quite a lot of money, research, and doing things up front. And when the bid comes, they factor this cost in, and which goes beyond, yes, much more than the budget. And so it causes, a feeling from the suppliers and may erode trust. So again, I guess trust is very important. There's still a lot of process in procurement where we can look at our buyer behaviors in order to foster trust and a true collaboration and innovation. I like to do a bit more work in this area. How, apparently you're on the different side, but actually you are the same circle or same party. So, yeah, interesting.
You're right. Procurement has changed a lot, certainly in all the years I've been involved in procurement. But in some areas, it's still seen as a very transactional, bureaucratic function rather than something that can add value. And I think it has changed. And you're absolutely right. It's all about behaviour, and it's all about everybody playing a part and working together, rather than this sort of as you described in the past, a linear process where an engineer would specify something very precisely. This is exactly what we want. Throw it over the fence to the procurement person, who is just seen as somebody that needs to administer the transaction rather than add any value. Whereas actually, as you say, that the whole issue of supplier relationships and working together as a team is something that we see a lot of these days, but not enough. And certainly in different parts of the world, it tends to be a little different as well. Where procurement, engineering, as you say, is seen as we know all the answers, and this is the answer. And the procurement function is seen as something very bureaucratic and transactional. And like you, I'm optimistic. I think it is changing, and look forward to those things improving.
Yes, I'm very optimistic and hopeful. And only when we keep on doing and thinking and changing, then will be improving. And it's never ultimate. We can be better and better.
Danny, thanks very much for those thoughts. I'm sure our listeners would be really interested to hear from you. As I say, kind of quite pioneering, being a woman in engineering all those years ago, and then starting to bring some new thinking and bringing sustainability into the topic as well. Plus an understanding of Hong Kong and what life is like and how sustainability is taking a grip there. So thank you very much, Danny. I'm sure our listeners will love hearing from you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Sean, and you being a friend and also a mentor. And wish we can have this relationship, across borders all over the world. That's the only way to go forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our podcast on Sense and Sustainability. Please listen out for more episodes. For more information, learning resources, tools, and much more content on sustainable procurement, go to www.iso2400.org.